everybody.
Just making sure. Yeah, I don't know why I'm not showing up here. It says I'm here. Can you hear me? Can you see me? Just give me 1 second. Just want to make sure that I'm talking to someone. And right now, I can't see anything. So I'm not sure what's going on. Someone can comment. That would be super duper fantastic. There we are. I see myself now. Yay. All right. Now I can get myself organized. Let's do this. Fist pump. Okay. Today we're talking about emotional eating. Well, I've cleverly titled this Emotional Eating 101, why this keeps happening and why it's not what you think. So when we start off these trainings, I always love knowing who's here. So who's here on the live or who's here on the replay. It's kind of like a little smoke signal to say like, hey, I am the kind of person who values my learning in this stuff. And then I'm moving towards being an imperfect action taker, doing something with the information that I'm learning today that is going to close the gap between knowing and doing and actually going to solicit some changes in my life or in the areas that I want to see. So let me know in the comments if you're here live or if you're here on the replay.
Actually going to solicit.
Okay, now I can follow along with your comments. Okay, so today is all about emotional eating. This is part 1 of 2. However, if you stick around, there is something that's going to give you access to 5 full-length trainings on the topic, all in one place that don't expire and don't go away. So you might want to stick around for that as well. So when we do these trainings, we try and take like bigger topics and kind of like narrow them down. So what is this big thing over here? How do I make sense of it? And then how do I start to like apply it to my everyday life in a way that doesn't feel so overwhelming, doesn't add to my already crazy to-do list and my crazy life. So that's my goal for you today. And the advantage to joining these trainings live is that you get the opportunity to ask me questions here as well, free of charge. So I hope that that's what you will do. Okay, let's dig in. So first we gotta get a couple of things out of the way. So most women think their problem is this: I just need more discipline, I need more willpower, I just need to stop doing this, right? But if that were true, you would have fixed this by now, right? You're not new to effort. You can see effort being applied in other areas of your life. You're not new to trying. In fact, this isn't your first rodeo in terms of trying to lose weight or get healthy or get fit or that sort of thing. And you're not new to knowing what to do, right? So if you're stuck in this cycle, we need to stop calling it like a discipline problem or a willpower problem. Some women are so mean to themselves and they say I'm lazy, but they have really no proof in other areas of their life where that's true. Because the second you label it that way, you kind of reach for tools that were never built to solve the problem. You use weight loss or fat loss tools to kind of address what maybe is like a stress problem or a sleep problem or a digestion problem or an inflammation problem, or in this case, an emotional eating problem, right? So we want to make sure that we have different tools in our toolkit, even though we have weight loss goals, but we have all of these other things going. So it kind of the idea is like, just think about, a toolbox. For example, if you only had a hammer and anything that you needed to do, you needed to get, a screw out, put a screw in, or whatever that looks like, you only had the hammer. Well, no wonder you get frustrated and overwhelmed, and it feels like you're trying everything. You're trying everything with that one tool, where you need a multiple tools in order to get the job done. And in particular in perimenopause or menopause, you need a variety of those different tools, because often we're looking at weight loss, but we're also looking at emotional eating, but we're looking at inflammation and digestion and all that sort of things, right? So let's first look at like what actually is emotional eating, right? Because I think that there's a clear distinction that we need to make, so that we have common language. And oftentimes when I talk to women, they say, I don't emotional eat because I don't stress eat. Because there are types of women who, like, when they stress eat, they get no hunger signals, no hunger. They just don't want to eat at all. And so there's a misconception. So let's get the common language here. So, first of all, emotional eating is not random. It's not you being out of control. It's eating for a reason that has nothing to do with physical hunger. And as we get into this, you're going to also hear me say, like, it's not that you can't eat for other reasons besides physical hunger. That's not the case that we're trying to build. It's understanding the why behind your eating. So, when I'm coaching women, that's often what we're looking at. Is it hunger? Is it habit? Is it craving? Is it emotional? That sort of thing. So I'm going to give you a list of different things. Let me know which one usually drives your need to eat or need to snack or need to like graze, for example. So, okay, which one drives your emotional eating? So it could be stress for you. So if that's you, just put a little tick mark. It could be boredom or procrastination. It could be loneliness, frustration, exhaustion, avoidance, reward, comfort, or just like needing to like numb out or zone out. That's emotional eating, right? And I didn't even list them all, but those are the common ones that come up. So how many ticks did you have, right? Most women just see it as like, again, like I said, stress. I feel stressed and I eat a lot or I eat more processed foods or I go through the drive-through more often when you feel stressed, or I don't eat all day, but really it's a wide range of feelings. So here's the thing that my coaching clients quickly learn when they work with me. Not all emotional eating is a problem, right? Food is meant to feel good. It's meant to be enjoyable. It's part of celebration. It's part of connection. It's part of comfort, right? We don't question the cake when it's our birthday or when it's our son's birthday or that sort of thing. We don't question that, but somehow when it's not about that, we question all of the other reasons as to why we reach for those foods. So the problem is not that you can never eat for reasons other than hunger. Like I said, the problem is when food becomes your go-to, like your automatic response, and it starts costing you more than it's giving you. You start applying a strategy that works for weight loss, but not for emotional eating, and then you get really frustrated. So it's easy to say, I cut out carbs, I cut out sugar, I cut out late night snacking, I'm just eating really healthy, and I'm just walking. That works great when you are emotionally regulated, you're emotionally steady. But then you throw in any of those feelings that I just you mentioned, and it starts to mess up with your best laid plans because this doesn't meet this. This is your emotional self. This isn't your emotional self. And the plan needs to work with those two things together when we find ourselves eating for emotional reasons. So, reasons outside of hunger that are like more automatically driven and they start costing you more. So maybe they start costing you more in digestion or inflammation or your hormones, or maybe they affect your sleep. Maybe they start to play a role in terms of your self-confidence, your self-esteem, your self-image. Or maybe it's just like I have weight loss goals and it's counter indicated to that. Or it's like I have really strong values with how I should be treating my body and treating myself and nurturing myself, and it goes against that, for example, right? And I know a lot of women can get caught up in like, I just want to enjoy the moment. I just want to be like chill. I just want to have some food freedom. But if that's the goal that you want to get to, it doesn't come with a back end or a side order of guilt or shame for what you ate, right? So it's like, how do we get to that place? So why you keep misreading the problem is most women aren't actually struggling with one. There's kind of like a mix of three different experiences, and we're kind of all calling it emotional eating. So there's the physical hunger, right? So physical hunger is like gradual, it's flexible, you'll eat whatever's available, you'll feel satisfied when you've had enough. So for example, if I meal prep some chicken, rice, and broccoli, I went to the most boring meal in the fridge, that suffices me. Or like a couple nights ago, it was like I was hungry, so it was like easy for me to make up some eggs, for example, and have some avocado. So it's like it's gradual, it's not urgent, it's flexible, it's like it's not specific with what you're eating. It's not like I can't stop thinking about that one food. And you really can sit down, be mindful, eat it slowly, and you can feel satisfied enough and not really have a lot more like food thoughts after that, right? Okay, and then there's emotional hunger. So emotional hunger is more fast, it's urgent, it's specific. I need something sweet, I need something now, and it doesn't really get satisfied. So this is often where you find yourself going from the cupboard to the fridge to the like to the drawer. You constantly, it's like every time you open it, you think something else will magically appeal to you, right? It feels urgent. It feels like I can't really settle my thoughts. My thinking is about this, or I can't really get focused on this task because I'm thinking about the food or something to alleviate the feeling that I'm having, right? And it tends to be urgent and it tends to be specific. So it's like I'm looking for something sweet, therefore I'm going to go from the cupboard to the fridge to look for something sweet. I'm looking for something salty, I'm going to go from the cupboard to the fridge to look for something salty. But the difference between the physical and the emotional hunger, aside from that, is that the emotional hunger, you really don't feel satisfied. So it's the kind of thing where you can put peanut butter on a rice cake with chocolate chips, and then it's like, oh, then I need another one, or that wasn't satisfying, so now I need the chips, or now I need the jubes. It's like it doesn't feel like you're satiated enough. And then there's binge eating. So binge eating and emotional eating often get lumped together, and they are two different things. This is where it kind of escalates, and this is where most women get it wrong. Binge eating is not just I eat emotionally. Binge eating is often a reaction to restriction, a reaction to deprivation, to I already screwed this up, thinking, to being off track. So what looks like emotional eating is sometimes your body and your brain rebounding from control. So if you keep treating all of this like one problem, you'll keep using the wrong solution. Does that make sense? So it's physical hunger, and some women have really strong cues in their body that says I'm hungry, where other ones don't get the hunger cues, or other ones don't get them until they're hangry, for example, right? And then emotional hunger is something, that's driven by an emotion. So the thought happens, the emotion happens, and then you have the reaction. So sometimes when we're looking at, oh, I just want to fucking stop this, we're thinking about how do we stop the reaction, right? The behavior, but we're not looking at the thought that drove the feeling, right? And then binge eating is kind of what women will describe as like this out of body experience, like, whoa, what just happened, right? And often the binge eating, and more often than not, is like an overconsumption of things in a short amount of time. So do you see the difference between all three of those? And that do you see also that, hey, if I'm just looking at calories, if I'm just looking at cutting out foods, if I'm just looking at macros, it misses all of that other stuff. So I'm good when I'm good, but I'm not good when my emotional become emotionally dysregulated, or that pattern of emotional eating keeps creeping up. Is that making sense? Give me a thumbs up if that is making sense, right? So this is not about willpower, it's about patterns. So first we got to like zoom out, because this isn't just about food. This is about how your brain has learned to cope, right? So most of your behaviors are automatic. You don't sit there and logically think through every choice you make. Can you imagine how much more burnout you would have, right? It's like sometimes it's like you brush your teeth, you get in the car for work and you're like, did I even brush my teeth? Or you're like, did I even put on deodorant? Like you got some automatic patterns that are happening. And when they're automatic like that, then that takes up less room in your brain, right? Because it's just like you're happening. And that's why you find yourself in the car checking to see if you put deodorant under your arm, right? And so it's the same thing with emotional eating or with binge eating. It's more of an automatic pattern. I always like to have visualizations for you guys. So I think about it like a grass field, a long grass field, for example. And it's like if you constantly emotionally eat, it's like visualize the grass has been like a worn out path. It's a worn out path through the tall grass. And so naturally, it's so easy when you start walking through the path. Why would you create your own path? You would just go through the one where the grass is already cut down or flattened down for you to walk, right? And so it makes it easier to go on that path. And so that's why the behavior becomes automatic, right? So again, it's looking at this is automatic. You kind of don't sit there and logically think through every choice you make. And thank goodness that we don't, right? You run on patterns, and it's even the example of like you ever drive somewhere and you arrive and you're like, I don't even remember half the drive, right? That's what's happening here. But this didn't just start last year or this year or whatever. This didn't just start when your weight went up. This didn't just start when life got busy. It started probably way earlier than you think without realizing it. So for a lot of women, when I coach them, it started with food as a reward. So my mom used to say, if you're really good in this store, I'll treat you to a chocolate, for example, or food is comfort. When I was sick, my mom would be like, I'll make you this or whatever, or we'll have this and you'll feel so much better. Food is relief. Like when I did a really hard exam or a really hard test, for example, food is be good and you'll get this. And, like think about like me in church, right? And food, you had a hard day, this will make it better. If I was emotionally dysregulated at home, I always remember like that's how that's how I guess I was soothed or soothed myself, or others would help me soothe, for example. So if you think about those patterns, even though I'm 45, and you're 50, you're 60, they still carry some weight with you. It's like that worn path in the grass is still there, right? So you were told to behave in, like in church or in a store, like I said, and there's a treat waiting for you if you did. You were sick and you got ice cream if it showed up and you kind of like felt better. Sunday night rolls around and it's McDonald's. It's a treat, as a family. You did bad on a test. You reached for something to make you feel better. You did well. You rewarded yourself the exact same way. You made it through a hard week. I deserve this. It's same pattern, different reasons. So what did your brain learn? Your brain learned that food solves something, right? It changes how I feel. It gives me something to look forward to. It helps me cope. It helps me celebrate. It helps me get through. And over time, that stopped being like a conscious choice. Again, think about that grass field and it's like the path is worn. That's why it becomes automatic. That's why we look at choosing that path versus creating our own path, right? So now a feeling shows up and that feeling drives a thought and that thought drives a behavior or vice versa. It's oftentimes a thought that drives the feeling. You don't slow it down long enough to question it. It just kind of runs. Stress hits, I need something, that equals the pantry. Long day, I deserve this, I get a snack. I'm lonely, what can I eat? Scrolling and grazing. And in the moment, it feels maybe logical, it feels justified. And that's what a lot of women, when I first start coaching them, is they start to justify some of their decisions. It's better than I would have done. It's better than I have done before. It doesn't happen as often as it used to. And it feels deserved. And that's why this is so frustrating, because you're not sitting there thinking, let me sabotage myself. You're responding to something with a pattern that used to work. That's the part most women miss. At one point that helped you, you're just now in a spot where maybe it doesn't help you the way it used to help you, right? It's not serving you the same way as it used to. And so sometimes when I ask women, when I'm coaching them and we're trying to dig deep as to why they're eating, and I'm looking at the why, and I'm like, every behavior is an attempt to solve a problem. What problem is it solving? Nothing. It's creating problems. That's what they're saying, right? But really underlying, there is a story, a belief, or a pattern that's ingrained that's driving you towards that reaction. So what food is actually doing for you is every behavior, again, is solving something, even the ones you hate. So instead of asking, why do I keep doing this? Ask, what is this doing for me right now? And that's a hard one to sit in, because sometimes we don't want to face the ugly thoughts that we have, or maybe the messy feelings that we have, right? But it's going to get you further ahead if you can just sit in that uncomfortable space and ask, what is this doing for me right now? Is it taking the edge off stress? Is it giving you a moment to yourself? Is it helping you avoid something? Is it filling time? Is it creating comfort? Is it giving you something to look forward to? Is it helping you feel in control? Is it helping you not feel something harder? Because for a lot of women, food used to be helpful. It really worked. And at one point, it made things feel better. But now it's just the thing you default to, even when it's not actually helping anymore. So sit with this for a bit. When you think about your emotional eating patterns, what is the thought? What is the feeling? And because of those two things, what do you do next? What's the action? So, giving you a lot to chew on, this is a great time for you to kind of pause, bring out the paper and the pen, and really sit with this. Think about the last time it just happened. What was the thought? Where were you? Did somebody say something? Did a thought enter your mind? What was the feeling because of that? And then combined with those two things, what did you do next? What was your next action? So most women feel like, okay, well, I'll just try harder, right? I'll just try harder. I just got to try again. I just got to restart again. I just got to try again. I just got to try harder. Or they start to think, okay, is this a cortisol problem? Is this a hormone problem? What is going on, right? This is where I'm going to be super direct. The reason this hasn't changed is not because you haven't tried hard enough. It's because you've been trying to control the behavior without understanding what's driving it. So what do? You do, I don't know, more rules, more structure, more restriction, more I'll do better tomorrow. And it feels more black and white, concrete, easier to measure, right? Because if I have more like it's really hard, like feelings are so subjective, so it's really hard to measure, am I doing better? Where it's like so much easier to be like, well, I didn't eat carbs, I didn't eat sugar, I didn't eat past 7 o'clock, I didn't go over my calories, that sort of thing. And when life is happening, it's harder to deal with our feelings, to feel everything. It's easier to kind of shove it down or ignore it for some. You feel it and you get worried about getting stuck there, and or what do you do with it? Some clients will be like, well, I don't want to open up Pandora's box. The questions that you avoid or the things that you avoid are often where the truth is, and that's what's going to set you free, right? And so, they're kind of worried about, if I start, I can't stop, right? And then what do I do with that now, right? This is always the turning point when I work with my coaching clients, when they finally do that mind emotional piece that they has not been maybe included in other diets. Things start to click. Is it hard? Fucking yeah, it's hard for sure. Is it worth it? It's 100% worth it, right? And I often think about, like, again, another visual. If you think about playing chess, which I don't know anything about playing chess, but this is maybe it's from watching the Queen's Gambit, I don't know. But it's like, you can move all of the different pieces on the board and have a winning strategy. Like, you're moving, you're eating healthier, you're snacking less, like you're eating your protein, you're hitting your fiber, you're drinking your water, you're getting your steps in, all those things. And then you're going to get to a point where it's like none of the pieces are movable anymore, because now it becomes about your mindset. Your emotional and mental self now needs some tools at play here in order for you to move more pieces on the board. And when I coach women and it clicks, that's when the pattern starts to change. So for example, with one client through coaching, we identified she eats when she's bored. So we looked at, what are some other things she enjoys doing when she's bored? She likes puzzles, she likes knitting, she likes coloring and reading. So we created like a board basket of all things. So the idea of that was that we had to make it accessible. We had to make it equally enjoyable, for example, and it makes it so that food is in the same competitive arena. If I had to then figure out, I need now have to go buy a coloring book, or I have to find where it is, or none of my pencils are sharpened, there's too many barriers to get there. So we made this basket as accessible and as enjoyable as the food, so that it's both in the competitive arena, right? So that helps her get out of that. Another client, for example, is when her younger daughter is eating, she finds that she snacks more because she needs to keep her hands busy. So we're sitting down and exploring, well, what's that about? What's that about? And she's like, I'm not mentally stimulated. I know I need to be present for her, but I'm not mentally stimulated there. I need to be mentally stimulated. I just feel like being around kids all the time, it's like I don't get that, and therefore I go to food. So we're looking at same kind of strategy, what's underneath there, and looking to solve that. So bottom line is, you need to start seeing, when this is happening, what kind of hunger is this actually? Is it, again, we identify, is it physical? Is it emotional? Is it binge? Is it craving? Is it a want? That sort of thing. And what triggered it, and what food is doing for you in that moment. This is the work I do with the coaching clients, constant questions to help them unpack it and stop mislabeling it, so we can apply the right approach and the right plan. That's what's hard about doing it on your own. Calories in and calories out. It's more than that. And doing the emotional and mind work on your own is hard when you can't kind of see through it, right? So right now, I don't want you to try to fix anything. I just want today's training, because we're going to build on it in training 2, and then a subsequent training, a surprise training that I have for you as well, is I want you to notice, when does this show up, right? So for a lot of clients, and I got a tool coming up for you on this that's going to help you with this, is really noticing, when does it show up? Who am I around? Where am I? What thoughts am I having? What feelings am I having, right? What does it sound like in your head? What does it feel like in your body? And what are you actually needing in that moment? Those are 4 really great questions for you to write down in your journal, right? You can keep a tally in your head, or like notes every time you eat, or snack, or sip, taste, lick, or bite, is that you're kind of jotting down, why is this showing up? What does this sound like in my head? What does it feel like in my body? And what are you actually needing in the moment? That's where we kind of start. So we got to start there, because in the next training, we're going to take everything you just learned about emotional eating and show you exactly why this pattern keeps repeating, and how to stop interrupting it without turning your life into another set of food rules, right? We had enough rules in life. So I want to say something that might land a little bit differently, because a lot of you are going to walk away from this thing thinking, okay, I see it now. I understand what's happening. I just need to apply this, right? And I get it. You've always been someone who kind of figures things out. You show up, you try, you put in the effort. But here's the truth most women don't want to hear. Effort isn't the problem, and more effort won't fix this. Because if effort fixed emotional eating, you wouldn't still be here, right? You've tried controlling it, you tried being good, you tried starting over, you tried tightening things up, and every time you end up back in the same pattern. So it's not because you're failing, it's because you're trying to fix a pattern you can't fully see because you're like inside of it. So that's the gap. It's not knowledge. It's not necessarily knowledge. You have that. It's not effort. You've proven you can push through. It's being able to actually see your patterns in real time and know what to do with them when they show up. So think about what we just walked through. These are these aren't just random moments, guys. They're loops. You have a feeling, you have a thought, you have a behavior. You have stress, food, relief, repeat. I deserve this. I eat. I'm guilty. I feel guilty. Start over. And when you're in it, it feels normal, it feels justified, it feels like this, time it makes sense. That's why this is so hard to change on your own. It's like showing up to the gym and doing all the workouts yourself. You're sweating, you're trying hard, you're consistent, but your form is crap, right? So the reps don't land the same way they should. And over time, you're reinforcing patterns that keep you stuck. That's what this looks like for a lot of women. You're putting in effort, but no one is catching those patterns. No one is showing you actually, what's driving that behavior. No one is helping you adjust the moment. And if you look at all the other attempts that you've had at weight loss, have you had this kind of pattern spotting or coaching to you, right? Because that's how coaching changes everything, right? And then you stop guessing, you stop trying, you're not stuck in your own head, right? So if you're sitting there thinking, okay, I see myself in this, I get why this is happening now, but I don't fully trust myself to change it, that makes sense because awareness is step one. But changing the pattern, that's a different level of work. And it's a lot harder to do when you're kind of inside of it. So if you're done guessing and you're looking at like, what the heck would coaching look like to help me with the emotional mindset pieces along with hitting some of my goals that I have, then reach out. Let's start a conversation so I can understand what your goals are and your obstacles are, and we can see, how coaching may or may not help you kind of address that. This is part one of 2 trainings, and so you'll want to come back for. Right now, we're going to sit in the awareness. The question is whether or not you're going to ask yourself those questions every time you eat, sip, drink, bite, taste, licks, sip this week, so that you can then start to understand what is the pattern so that we can apply the right tool to it as well. Part 2 will be coming up, so stay tuned for that. But if you want access to 5 trainings that cover all things emotional eating at a greater depth, then I'm going to put the link below so that you can access that. It won't always be available, so you want to grab it before it expires, but it's certainly going to give you a more in-depth perspective on this besides these 2 trainings that I'm guiding you through. I'm Coach Cindy. I always like knowing what's your next imperfect action. Of course, today is all about awareness. Let me know if you're going to step into that today.